Con Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, welcome to the new world.
Wow.
This kind of feels like a bit of turbulence.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been travelling around the country. I know you've been doing quite a bit as well, and kind of like seeing that ultimately we've had an election.
Yes.
Well, not really.
We've had a budget.
But it was basically an election, wasn't it?
Yeah, well.
So we've had a budget, and there's whole changes to capital gains tax, negative gearing.
Yes, sir.
It's changing what we're doing in property management in terms of lead generation.
Yes.
Conversation around a whole range of things from fuel to what's been going on overseas.
AML.
A lot of tension. So let's talk a bit about that, about like when you face turbulence inside of a business. How quickly do you go to a forecast? How quickly do you adapt?
Yeah.
What are some of the strategies that you're putting in play, to work out, what this market's going to be and how to go to react?
Good question. I think it's a little bit of all of the above, mate. So no one's got a crystal ball to be able to tell or predict or forecast, but I think you've got to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. The biggest thing...
Break glass.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your plan C. But I think for us, what we've been doing is, what are we able to control? Because all of those are uncontrollables. What the government does when it comes to, legislative changes, whether it's AML or the budget, is everything we just spoke about, right? We can't control any of that. So what are we actually able to absolutely control? A. B, do you have your plan C in case, things get really hairy, and how quickly can you activate it?
Yeah.
But for us, more importantly, is how do we actually use this as an opportunity? Because there's a lot of gaps in our market and what we do in real estate. And so you're either going to be able to weather the turbulence or you're going to let it impact you.
But I have a look at, there are some turbulence that's actually 100% predictable. So if I go down to Victoria and I have a quick look there and say, for example, in September, they've got their football finals. But also, too, you're aware that the NFL's coming out.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
so that's going to be huge in terms of the Victorian event calendar. And then October's probably going to be quite consumed by a state election, which will be quite controversial about land tax and things like that for the first week of November. So if you're an agent and you're looking into that market and you're saying, well, we've got the balance of May, we've got June, we've got July, we've got August.
Winter's starting to look really good, isn't it?
And then all of a sudden September, October, first week of November, in a bit of trouble. You really have to have some proper conversations with the people about why you should be selling today and why that's probably some of the best conditions that we're going to see all year, and having a bit of a view to that, right?
You're absolutely right. Being able to kind of forecast the predictable stuff, right? But the thing is with me, Josh, too, and this is maybe the way that my brain's wired. So think about turbulence. You're on a plane.
Yes.
Think about the discomfort. Think about having to get up early to go to the airport, and you got to queue up and check in. Not if you're Josh Phegan, by the way, because you go, what do you go, sweets or something first class? No, he's smiling at me. Anyway, but think about all,
Rex doesn't have that, mate.
You're cramped, you got shitty food, and then you hit turbulence. You can't sleep.
Yeah.
You forget about it when you arrive at your destination.
Yeah.
So for me is, what's the destination that you as an agent or you as a person in business that's wanting to, arrive to? And then how do you make sure that you can make that turbulence as comfortable as possible?
Can't have a look at this. I've got some people right now that have just had their best ever April on record. They're shaping up for a phenomenal May on the inside of their business. And I think it's not about a market thing. It's about them, you're really understanding the things that actually allow you to perform at your best. And I would say to you that there is a massive relationship towards getting more face to face.
Absolutely.
And so when I go to think about this, I go, okay, let's take the numbers and make them really simple. If you want to make 4 sales, how many listings do you need to get? Now, ideally, that's got to be 5. If that's 10 listings to get 4 sales, you definitely have a problem with vendor management, buyer work, pricing, sales management philosophy, vendor paid marketing, getting properties maybe to market, not doing them off market. So if I'm going to do 4 sales, I've got to get 5 listings. If I'm going to get 5 listings, well, how many listing appointments have I got to go to? If you have to go to 20 listing presentations to win 5, we have a clear problem inside of the listing presentation itself and or your lead generation cycle of how you're generating leads. So I'm going to say I want you to go to 8 listing presentations to win 5. That's a very high strike rate. But it means you know your listing presentation, you know how to present price, marketing, time and sale method, you know how to present against competitors to put yourself into that winning position. But then off the back of that, well, then how many appraisals do you need to do to get into 8 listing presentations? Now, if you need to go to 40 appraisals to find 8, it's an interesting problem to have. I think it should be times 3 at max.
Sure.
So 24 appraisals plus 8, like listing consultations, that's 32 appointments. Divide that by literally 20 work days. Yeah. I'm talking like circa two appointments a day. And so what I want you to look at is that, like, before you blame a market or you blame a cycle or you blame government policy, are you actually at an appointment that you're at 2 appointments a day where you're giving someone a price on their property, or you're actually in a listing presentation?
Mate, you're absolutely spot on, but also look at it and just go, well, how come there's players in every single market that are outperforming the market? So is it the market or is it you? And you got to look at your transactional volume, and you got to look at, all your vitals, your days on market, your average sale price, auction. I mean, in our market, we've definitely seen a lot of our competitors. First of all, their auction process has been impacted by the market conditions, so therefore they've retreated a lot of them back to what they feel is safe, which is private treaty. Now, I'm not saying auction's better than private treaty or whatever, but I know that on average we're selling all of our properties within 32 days. And I know that we're getting a clearance rate of 75%, which is about 25% above the Sydney average. So we understand the process. What I'm getting to is we need to look at the gaps that's in us. So whether it's your numbers, whether it's your market, what are the opportunities when turbulence arrives? Because I actually think that this is, for me, and I'm an optimist, mate, but I think that this is the greatest opportunity for people to gain market share that they could possibly ever, ask for.
And it was interesting because I got to see, Anthony Bell speak the other day, and one of the things that he said is that, like, literally long days on market is the enemy of a great high-performing agent.
Yeah.
And so when you start to think about it, well, the first key thing that I do when I walk into a business, and particularly if there's a lot of listings that have been sitting around for a little while, is actually to say, okay, great, let's go and grade the listings.
Yep.
So I use a traffic light system.
Yep.
Red light, it's just not going to sell. Orange light, with a bit of a wrestle, it might get there. Green light, we actually think that particular property is on track. And not like terrorism, but very different. See something, say something.
Yes.
If something's not right, you got to go and have a conversation. You've got to go and do that early.
Yes.
Now, I want you to have a look at your listings. What's actually the reason why that seller is selling?
Yep.
Are they in a position that they actually need to do a transaction?
Yep.
So I want you to think, who out of your sellers right now is actually selling for a profit?
Yes.
And who's actually selling at a loss?
Yes.
Now, if someone's selling at a profit, what do they pay for it and what are they selling it for today? Help them to realize that they've actually done really well. So a good example of that, if they bought the asset for $200,000 in 1996 and they're selling it today for $2 million, they've actually done really well.
Yes.
Now, if they're in a position that they're selling at a loss and they bought it for $2 million in November and today they're only going to sell it for $1.8 million, why would they do that?
Yep.
And they would be doing that because they're under financial pressure, they've got a better quality asset class to go to.
There's a reason why.
There's something else that's going on in that background, and you've got to really work that.
Yes.
What I'm finding is a lot of agents don't actually know, are my owners actually selling at a profit, and how do I have that conversation?
Why don't they know though, Josh? Is that because they're just simply not asking the question?
But also too, thinking that, like, if you've seen a 7.5% drop in borrowing capacity and you've seen a 5% reduction in the difference between the owner's expectation and where the buyer's offer is, can't you present that way and say, Con, I just got to say this to you, the offers that we're seeing now from buyers, they're already pricing in the reduction in their borrowing capacity as to what they see is happening in the marketplace. And so you've got to make a decision around that. And by the way, if you're in a position that right now investors have just pulled out of market, and you can actually go and put your money in an ING account for circa 5.5% on interest on a 12-month term deposit, no risk at all, no government legislation around tenancy, no management fees, also to no opportunity for capital growth.
Correct.
But in the next 12 months, we might not see that capital growth given the current stage of cycle.
Correct. But this is exactly what this market requires though, mate. So it requires the detail, and it actually requires logic, not emotion. I've got so many examples that I can talk about where we were so close to getting the deal over the line, but we either didn't because we went down the traditional path of, hey, it's a really good offer, Mr. Vendor, and, buyer, it's the vendor's come down. Time out. Let's go straight to logic. Hey, is this the property that you want to live in with your family?
Yes.
Okay, I can't replicate this one.
Yes.
Okay, but what I can tell you, the difference between where you are and where the owner is 1%.
Yes.
You own 99% right now.
Yeah.
And that difference is $86 a week.
Yes.
That's what we've got to come up with. How do we close the gap?
Yes.
Right?
So more wrestling between 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, $200,000, depending on sale price, is going to be happening inside of that market. But what you're going to realize very quickly is that right now, if you believe that interest rates have still got another 1 or 2 increases to go because of the inflation cycle, then that means that borrowers have got the most amount of money right now. They're going to be able to borrow for the foreseeable future.
And investors are basically gone on existing
on
builds.
established residential.
Yeah, correct. And if they still want to borrow, here's the funny thing is too, when you look at now that negative gearing has been removed on established properties, it can be about a 30% reduction in borrowing capacity.
And then the interesting conversation too, don't forget that if you're buying a new property,
yes,
the negative gearing offset is against your rental income.
That's exactly right.
Not the money that you earn at the office.
Correct. So this is where we need to, is it turbulence or is it just noise that's in between our ears and we're actually not sitting down and paying attention and exploiting the gap? I don't mean that in a bad way.
But finding the opportunity in every cloud.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you're a big one for like dialing in on process.
Absolutely.
You're looking at some of the best agents in the country that you have the chance to work with inside of your group.
Yes.
And one of the things is that like they're really big on dialing in on process. And
yes.
I think like Amit is a great conversation around that because like every week for the first 4 weeks, every vendor must have a 15-minute meeting with him. It's either at the office or over like a FaceTime or whatever.
It's on Calendly, and that's if they're on track. If they're off track, it's face-to-face.
Yeah, and
that's a process.
And that whole conversation is that when you think about dialing in on process, you are seeing some agents maybe shy away from auction or maybe shy away from coming to market or maybe shy away from, what they're doing in terms of a price change.
Yep.
Is that the sort of stuff you got to lean into and actually work out who actually wants to do a transaction?
100%. Yeah, definitely. And I think today, more so than ever, is whatever you were doing 30, 60, 90 days ago, whether it's listing, vendor management, running an auction process, prospecting, if you haven't updated your new operating system, you're already out of date. So, for example, we've got 3 types of, I think, agents in the market right now. I can't get stock. I've got stock and I can't sell it. And I've got stock and I can sell it. So there is a use case and a problem that we need to solve for every single one of those scenarios. So if I'm prospecting and I can't get a listing, am I still doing what I was doing 30, 60, 90 days ago? Or do I now start prospecting landlords? Because guess what? With negative gearing, guess what? With interest rates, increasing, guess what? With CGT implications, guess what? Maybe I should just start looking on the rental side of REA and Domain and work out, oh, wow, that property's been on the market for 24 days. That's 1 month without income. That is also half a week to a week's letting fee, plus. Hey, you know what, Josh? Have you ever thought about maybe seeing what your property might be worth if you wanted to sell it?
Well, I've got an alternate view. What happens if I called every person who walked through an investment property that was looking to buy an investment and just asked them a conversation, given the changes, are you still looking to do that? Or would you consider selling your principal place of residence and buying a better principal place of residence, which is tax-free?
Well, and that's what's going to happen now. The principal place of residence is now going to be tightly held, and also people are going to say, this is the last, capital gains tax free threshold that I've got, so I want to maximise it. So what I'm getting is, when the market zigs, you zag.
Right, and this is better buy work.
Oh,
so
mate.
like literally, you've spoken about lookalike campaigns for a long time. I think you actually created the term.
Yeah,
is it because I used to go to call it cross selling.
Yeah,
but that basic idea is that then thinking very differently. That in the opening moments of the campaign, if we've opened a property of a similar type in the last 12 months and a similar buyer would have walked through,
yes,
can I jump on the phone and go and ring you? Now I had a classic the other day where I had an agent text me at 12 o'clock on a Saturday, say, "Hey, we've got a new property that's just come to market that could be good for you, and it's open right now."
Wow.
And I thought, why didn't you tell me on Tuesday?
Correct. But
organise my calendar.
This is the thing.
Timing.
It is timing, but turbulence offers opportunity. The opportunity right now, is to really level up. So think about everyone that comes into our ecosystem. Where are the moments that matter? It's not the REA or the domain inquiry or your website inquiry. It's when they're walking through a home at an open home. Our job is to find the intent. Are they researching buying? Are they researching selling? Do they like the architecture? Do they like the photography? Do they want to see the floor plan design ideas? Let's start actually really mining and honing in onto the why. Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Con, this is a great one. I think that the power about, just don't do one action, do a couple of actions to actually build relationship. And, this is interesting. Like one thing that happened recently is I had somebody who came to one of our events and I had not met this person before and he was really nice. And then off the back of that, when I finished the event, later that day, he posted something to Instagram and said it was a great event and tagged me in it. So then I got to see it and I followed him back. And then after that, he then sent me a text message a couple of days later and say, "Hey mate, I just wanted to know, you said this in training and I went and did it and it's got my listing. So thanks very much." And then off the back of that, that. He was a part of our digital subscribers, so he subscribed. And then when the subscription pack turned up, he sent me a photo of it, said, hey, mate, thanks for sending this up to me. And I got to tell you, like, the warmth and the energy and the feeling that I have towards that person because of the very specific things that they have done to build a relationship has been pretty phenomenal. And,
cool.
I know that sounds funny, but it's like, it's the little thank yous, it's the little comments back, it's the little things that make a big difference to how people think about you beyond the transaction.
Well, it's exactly what I was going to say, which is people will always remember how you make them feel. And so when we're in an industry where we get to touch so many people at so many different levels and in so many different opportunities, what is that positive or negative feedback loop that we're leaving on them? So I always say to our agents and our team, what would it be like to be a client of yourself? You know, would you give yourself a 5-star rating on Google, or would you kind of look at it and go, it was good.
Why do you have a voice like that?
It was good.
Yeah.
So what's the gap between good and great?
Okay. How you talk to yourself really worries me.
Something that's changing your view.
One thing that's changing your view, and I think this is an interesting path about where we're at in the world. I see a lot of stuff on social, and one of the things that I've seen more recently is that, like, if you don't have this in your business, you are not going to have a business in 3 years' time, says the AI expert. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to know in life, where am I placing my big bets, and then where's my side bet on, like, something for a bit of fun.
Sure.
But like right now, core, just get in and do it. And I think there's a phenomenal story. This guy that I'm doing work with that sells off plan, and he'd been in a position that maybe the business hasn't grown as much as he would have liked it, and he's been doing it for like circa 20 years. So I saw him in training in February, and I said, hey, let's take the Mecca Cosmetica idea, which is in the Firms of the Future read. And I said to him, like, just write down a list of your top 100 clients of all time that have bought properties from you off plan over the course of your life, and just ring all of those people and see if they want another one. Anyway, so I saw him at a coaching session last week. He said, mate, I just want to let you know something. I said, what's that? He goes, mate, since I saw you last, I've called those top 100 people and I sold them 12 apartments. And so, mate, off the back of that, at $60,000 a pop, you've helped me generate $720,000 in revenue from that one idea.
Yeah.
So before you go chasing down about all the things that you don't have, can I get you just to amplify what you've got and see whether or not that can make the change that you want to see in your business?
That's a cracker.